We are having Jared Gidel to explain what's behind the double-digit rally this Monday on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. If you are new here, please make sure you subscribe. So, Jerry, I will ask you right away if you think wheat has started all this rally and has influenced all the other commodities.
Yes, well, wheat definitely was the one of today's leader. It turns out that two things happened here in the wheat market. Saudi Arabia had a tender, and they went ahead and lined up a lot of wheat for early next year at 1.2, 1.3 million metric tons. And then Egypt came in with a late Friday afternoon tender. We actually, some of that was around. We had a very strong close on Friday. And from there, then with the announcement of the 1.3, we pushed above the Chicago wheat's previous highs. We also had strong action in the spring wheat area, finally pushed it up against $11. And boy, that side of the ledger kept going. The corn market kind of followed along. There really was a minimal kind of harvesting activity in the eastern corn belt here. We still had some rains on Thursday and Friday here, and maybe a little bit even further east in this into Saturday. And so basically limited kind of harvesting situations going on in the corn. Soybeans tried to rally a little bit with it today, rallied up to basically its recent highs on things, but just couldn't hold it together here. We've had, well, it's a combination of expectations for next week's supply, assuming crop size being a little higher. And I'm looking for half a bushel. There's some people as high as a bushel higher on beans. Definitely better than expected. Has happened west of the Mississippi here, and so that you've got to caution in that. Now, the real twist here on the exports and domestic demand, I think we had a good. Well, we had a number today on the expectations for September here came in as about as expected, about 163 and a half, 64 million on the monthly crush and that. But I think we are building things up. We've really got a real strong demand for bean oil and that. But at the same time, we're substantially behind last year on the export sales. I'm not sure we should be really looking at last year as a real aberration there with the Chinese having issues over there with their weather issues, building livestock numbers again. South America had a solid crop in Brazil, but not a great one in Argentina. And so we had a big numbers on the books last fall. But the thing is that we're still behind the 5-year average by 70 or 80 million. So there's a potential for that export sales to maybe be shaved. So the prospects of seeing this 320 million carryover stock going higher has kind of put a lid on this bean market until we actually see some of the numbers here on November 9th.
And how long do you think this rally is going to last?
Well, this time of year, we usually have a little strength. I think the twist of it here is that it's probably going to be somewhat limited towards the end of this week and early next week with the crop report coming from that in the U.S. As I just mentioned, the soybean side of things here is people's attitude about that is not real strong. But the corn and wheat side of things, I think, is still going to be having some positive things there, particularly the corn side. I know that the Western Corn Belt, the west of the Mississippi, and that on the corn side of things is a little better yields out there than the infamous better than expected. It's always a difficult one. If you're expecting low numbers, I'm not sure the USDA has the same better than expected attitude as the producer does, but that's the situation there. But I think the one twist of it is the eastern of the Corn Belt is definitely not as strong as some of those early USDA numbers, and that particularly Illinois, I think Michigan's not looking all that great. Indiana's so. Ohio's been kind of interesting. Sometimes they have some real issues with late season kind of problems in Ohio, but I'm not picking up that as much as I have in the past. So, but in general, I'm looking for half a bushel down on corn. That's not tremendous by any means, but I think the one thing that we could see here is the fact that we are real close to the on the corn numbers here on exports, and so I don't see there's any real adjustments there going downward. And I think the ethanol number is going to be raised at least 50 million. So you put that together, maybe we'll see our U.S. carryover stock going down 100 million. Now that's not crazy. That's 1.4 against 1.5, but those are my general expectations. It's still a week away. Maybe there's some other people out there who's got a better handle on this, but that's kind of my expectations there on the corn side. Wheat is an interesting one. I think there's issues in Canada yet. U.S. numbers are pretty solid at this point after the small grains numbers, which were adjusted from there. And I still sense that there's some seasonal demand for wheat from there. So, but it's going to be a choppy one here until we get past the 9th. There's usually some further strength, interestingly enough, in the U.S. up to the end of November, 1st of December, when the U.S. barge system kind of shuts down north of St. Louis, except for the Illinois River, because of the fact that they don't want to get their tugboats and their barges trapped in there in ice and that after the 5th to the 10th of December. So that's going to, I think, still be a little bit of a push here into getting this stuff organized. We kind of lost 2 or 3 weeks here in September. So I think there's going to be an urgency to get that stuff out. I think that's going to help provide a little support to these markets after the 9th, after we see the data.
All right, pretty fast analysis. Thank you, Jerry.
Yes. Well, we'll see what we'll have some more details. I'll have some S&Ds out at the end of the week for next week, so we can see things in that and look it over again. But those are the highlights, and we'll see what happens this week's harvest progress. We didn't delve into that. I think that's an interesting one. You were at only 3 to 5%, 7% in the east, and that's we have a chance to get things open next week. We'll have to see how far they come along, because that could make things nervous if there's some corn and beans out in the field.